Now I can unmute myself. Thank you so much, Manish. Uh, Hi, everyone. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Manish, and the Open Bootcamp team for having me over and we can interact with the budding talent of this design industry, right? So I'll quickly share my screen, then start this whole presentation. I hope my screen is visible, right? Okay, starting with talking about myself, I'm Anshul Gupta. I, along with my friend Shubham Mathur, run a design and digital agency here in Gurgaon, India, and we help brand in marketing and technology. Whereas in the design side, design actually take care of the covers the major subset of these two verticals. I've been into the industry from half a decade now, and trust me, like seeing the future, seeing AI coming in, seeing Vision Pro and whatnot, right? Design is going to get more critical and crucial in future. This would be the right time to actually get into designing. Like before, when I got into designing, I would say like things were not as appreciated as per the designer, right? But now people know the value of a designer. People know what design can actually, give them and or how it can actually help businesses, right? Won't talk much about myself over here. We'll dive directly into the presentation, what we are here for. Uh, so yeah, we are here to create Figma loading animation. Uh, before getting into our, how we can actually create that, let's understand why do we need a loading animation? Is it even important? Like, how will it be like if we don't actually, have a loading animation in our application or in our website, right? So if you see, like whenever user click on any particular component or application or a system, right? User is expecting a response that might take some time, but user obviously as a user, as a human being, we we hate waiting, right? We cannot wait for even a second to get the response or the feedback from the system or even from the, anyone we are seeking response from, basically. So if you try to understand from an analogy that let's suppose we are having a conversation with someone, we said something, but the other guy is neither responding nor even nodding his head, right? We'll try to tap him and ask him again, Leah, come on, speak up, you respond to me. Again, the same reaction comes up. He doesn't, give any kind of reaction, right? After a couple of seconds, we'll get agitated and we'll walk away. That what happens when user interact with the any kind of application or website or a system where they don't get quick feedbacks or they don't get feedback on their action. They drop off, they bounce off, right? And that's where loading animation comes in. So loading animation are something gonna help engage with the user when things are loading at the back, right? So like it says, if you go by the definition, loading animation are shown before the actual content of the site as it loads, right? While they have no power to speed up the website loading time, it can help the user occupied as they wait. This in turn decrease the drop off and bounce rate. And trust me, like when you design for the user, experience is obviously at the top most thing. And when you talk from the metric point of view, drop off and bounce rate are also very crucial. There is a report by Google. It says like if we increase the loading time from 1 second to 10 seconds, we can see a bounce rate of whooping 123% or something, and that's huge. That's way huge. We cannot even think of our life if we are creating something and people are not even getting into it. They are leaving before even seeing anything whatever we have created, and that's where loading animation comes in. Moving forward, how we can create this in Figma, right? Before understanding creating any animation in Figma, we need to understand prototype. And before that, we even need to understand what Figma is. Figma actually help us create static design, or maybe you can say screens, right? For our application, for our website, right? To make it more interactive, to make it more lively, to understand the pathways, flows, we design prototypes. And that's the power of Figma, that you can do a lot of things with Figma. You can understand like on clicking on one button where you are going to land. Let's suppose if you are scrolling and if you hit the bottom of the page, what's going to happen then? So it's more or less, I would say, like if we utilize Figma prototype, we see how our static screen gonna look like after the development. So yeah, that's pretty amazing, I would say, right? If you go by the definition, prototypes replicate how users might interact with your design. You can make connection between frames, create flows, pathways through an interactive design. By interactive design, you will get better feedback. Obviously, there are feedback loops which you can even get in the prior state, but getting a feedback on a well-designed and interactive flow, right? It's actually much easier for the decision makers and even for the designers, right? Okay, let's jump into the prototyping panel. What we have here, how we can actually utilize. Today, we are just going to talk about how to create an animation and what all is required to create that animation, right? Okay, as you see, right, we are in the prototype panel, right? We can see this is the panel that comes up if we click on this interaction plus button, right? The first option which we see is the interaction option. Is interaction, or you can say trigger option. What is going to trigger your animation? What is going to trigger your prototype? We have few options over here. Either user can click on a particular thing, or they can drag any particular thing. While hovering, if you hover, then some action will take in care. While pressing and holding it, or a key or a gamepad. Like if you press any button on the keyboard, then things gonna trigger. Moving on, mouse enter is something if you have defined a particular space. If you enter that mouse within that space, then things will trigger. If you leave that particular space, then something will trigger. Mouse down is basically the click, right? Mouse up is basically releasing the click button. And there is after delay. We don't need any kind of interaction from the user. After a certain point of time, animation will start itself. And this is what we're going to use for the loading animation, because loading animation is something that's going to start on its own. We shouldn't be waiting for the user to say that you need to start a loading animation. Yeah, we need to get a request from user that we want to load this page, but we don't want any kind of interaction to start any kind of animation or any kind of beautiful visual that keep them engaged, right? So yeah, these are the triggers that we have in Figma, right? Let's suppose we are starting with on click, though we will be playing around with delay later, right? Let's we have on click. Another thing would be like the behavior and the event. What action gonna be there? Like once the trigger is done, once the interaction is done by the user, what behavior or how things gonna change, right? Here we have navigate to. Navigate to is basically if let's suppose user click on a particular thing, then that frame will be changed to navigated to something different frame. Change to more or less is like it will actually replicate that. Sorry, it will put it on top of it as such, right? Navigate is like the movement. Change to is like it will change it, right? Back is something, let's suppose we got from one state to another and we are going back to that particular state. So it will remember their state, right? Set variables, conditional, these two are the new topics, and these come under advanced prototyping. For this, you need to understand how tokens work, how logics work, and we won't be talking about this in this particular workshop. Moving on, the scroll to is basically like we click on some particular button and it scroll to a different section. That scroll to action is, right? Open link is something if you click on a particular thing, you will be taken out of the design. You will be taken onto the browser. Whatever link or URL that you have pasted over here will be open, right? Another thing is open overflow. Overflow is something when you click on a button and you get an alert message on your phones, right? That is kind of a pop-up. That is the overflow. If you click on a button, it will ask whether you want to do this or not. That is the overflow. You can even, let's suppose I said yes. And if I want to, swap that overflow with some other overflow, then we use this option, swap overflow. Moving on, if you want to close that overflow, let's suppose we said we can have a cross button on the top right. If we click on that particular button, the overlay closed, right? Closes, right? So that's where when we'll use this particular overflow. Manish, I need your help. If we have any comments on the chat, if I'm going too fast, you can let me know.
So far, all good, I guess. No comments.
Perfect, perfect. Another thing is we get to see the preview also, right? Let's suppose I have this navigate, and let's suppose I want to move to some other frame. I'm though we haven't actually told them which is the initial frame, which is the last frame, or how the connection will gonna flow. Let's do it with an example here. Let's move to this section here. We have this initial frame. In Figma, it is called hotspot. Wherever we want to go, it is called the destination. And we create links between the both. This is called the connection, right? What I'll do, I'll remove everything. We'll do everything from scratch so everyone can be on the same page. So what we have, this is our initial frame that we have created. By pressing F, we have created a frame. We have named the frame hotspot. Another frame is destination that we have created by using the similar shortcut F. Now what we are going to do, we have a rectangle over here and it says rectangle 54. Let's rename it. Let's say box. Okay. I'll delete this. Okay. I'll duplicate this frame. Now what I want to do is I want to see what all option I have in the prototyping tab, right? This is the connector. I've connected this connector with the another frame. Now this panel pops up. Now I have the trigger option on click. Now I want them to navigate to from one frame to another. The destination is hotspot. Hotspot, let's change it to destination. Okay. So now it automatically got changed into destination. Now destination is the second frame. Now this is the type of transition we want to have between the animation basically. One says instant. Instant is basically whatever difference you're gonna have from one frame to the another, it's gonna change it instantly without having a kind of a smooth motion, without having a motion where you can see one frame and another frame, right? Another transition is dissolve. Dissolve is basically one frame opacity will be reduces, another will be increased. In this way, there will be a point where you will see both the frame are there about 50% of opacity. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the animation, you will get the second frame. This is I would say the best and this transition we are going to use it. This actually fills the gap. Let's suppose if I have this object over here, and if I have this object over here, if I'm having a transition of smart animate, Figma doesn't need me to actually tell him that the object needs to move from one point to another. If I use smart animate, it automatically moves from one place to another, giving it a smooth animation. These are options we have for acceleration and deceleration basically. And on the right side of it, this is the time. Time generally defined in millisecond, as seconds is too long when we are dealing in the application in the design space. That's why we have millisecond. If you change this, right, easy in, right, you get to see a preview over here, how this is gonna animate, right? So this is basically what we are going to do is we are going to look out for the linear animation over here. Okay, let me press shift and space. I'll get this pop-up. Now what I have to do is the trigger is on click. Their destination is this frame where this object will move to this place, right? If I see here, the X position is 40, Y position is 42. When I go to this space, this frame, my X position is 548 and my Y is 202, right? Okay, if I click this, this automatically goes to the right side. And obviously it looks smooth, but if we change the transition, right? If we change the transition to instant, let me reload this. It goes without even, having any kind of interpolation. Interpolation is basically when system itself fill the frames in between. You don't need to tell him that after this position, it needs to go on this position, so on and so forth, right? And when we use dissolve, it, yeah, it happens like this. One thing dissolve, another thing pops up, right? That's how it's gonna go, right? So in this way, we have understood that we can move and box from X to the Y, sorry, X position to X plus X dash position, right? What if I want to do it without user input, right? Simple, right? On instead of on click, I'll have a delay. When you have after delay, right, it gives you one more option where you tell what amount of time it animation should wait, then trigger the action, right? I'll make it 1 second. It 800 milliseconds too on the higher side if you talk about the loading animation, right? I'll press enter and I'll press this. Okay, this is right now the transition is dissolved. That's why it's not having a smooth motion. Let's have a smart animate over here. So if you see, this is going from one place to another. We can even press R to reload the preview, right? What I'll do, loading animations are generally a looping animation. It's not gonna be like you start from A point and you will end it on the B point. Obviously, in design, there's nothing hard and fast. You can even create something that starts from A and end at A, right? Because you never know how long it's gonna take for the user to load the particular screen, right? So you want it to be a looping animation. That's why we generally have uh, GIFs, and nowadays we use Lottie animation to just to speed up the all the process, right? So what we'll do, hotspot is going from, our transition is going from hotspot to destination to loop in. What we'll do, we'll, make a connection from destination to hotspot. Let's do that. So it says on click. No, I don't want on click. I want everything to be looping on its own, right? After delay. No, I don't want 800 millisecond. I want just 1 second gap, right? And if you see, automatically things started working. So this is happening, right? This is kind of a linear motion that this linear animation we can achieve through these settings. Obviously, we can have, change it to maybe 100 milliseconds. The speed's gonna slow down. Sorry, 1000. Yeah, yeah. The speed is gone down. We won't be getting into actually the ease in, ease out kind of acceleration. It's still on the higher side, I would say. But just to understand, these things you can actually bring more reality to your animation. If you see any kind of animation, or maybe if you see any kind of movement in real life, right, it's never going to be linear. Let's suppose you are driving a car. If you start the car, you start accelerating. You're not going to start at the speed of 20, right? You're going to start it from 0. You will go to a certain point, then you will maintain that speed, then you will put a brake, then you will slow it down, right? So if you see the speed is going to increase, then going to be constant, then going to be decreased. Same are these options which we can utilize and bring more reality to our animation. Okay. So this is the linear motion that we have achieved. Let's see what could be the good example of this. So we have it here. I've already created it. I'll obviously walk through you guys like however I've created it. But the concept is same, right? If you see, balls are moving up and down, right? We don't have any text, we don't have any percentage over here. These things are possible with the variable and conditions. But as of now, we are just touching the basic. We can achieve this animation just by implementing those linear animation thing. Manish, do you have any question as of now?
I think all good. It's pretty awesome.
Perfect, perfect. So let's understand how we have done it, right? The concept is same. We just created few more frames where we have this first frame called simple loop 1, where we have ellipse 7. If you see, if we go on the design panel, if we select all the ellipse, right? Sorry. Yeah. So if you see this ellipse, it has a X value of 107. Another is 150. Sorry, Y is 150. If we see another ellipse 7 in the next frame, the value got changed. It's 107 and 102, right? So what we have done, firstly, we had that linear motion from left to right. Now we are having the linear motion up and down. And same we are implementing for all the 3 circles. And yeah, that's how we achieve this full animation. Moving on. Moving on, we're going to talk about, like, animation is all about playing around with the properties, right? First, we change the X value or the Y value. We got a linear motion. Now we will play around with the rotational value, how we can rotate things and create animation. I think most of the animation which we see on the loader side, it's kind of a circle moving round and round, right? Or maybe it's kind of a, I would say, dotted lines, some with low opacity, some with high opacity and rotating clockwise. Like, one important thing would be, like, let's suppose we have this frame hotspot. Okay, it says hotspot. We'll have this hotspot, right? This is our initial frame. We have a destination frame, right? Let's suppose we have this rectangle and it says it's rectangle 54, right? If we are going to change the name of this particular rectangle to 55, this indicates to Figma that this rectangle and this rectangle are different. Whatever properties we are going to have for this particular rectangle and whatever properties we are going to have for this particular rectangle are not going to animate at all, because these two individuals, these two elements are taken or maybe understood by the system in differently, right? We need to have the same naming. This is how Figma animation works. Like if you see here also, this is going up and this is not messing up with this thing because every ellipse name is ellipse 7 here in every frame, right? Same goes with this, ellipse 8 is there. So we need to be very cautious about the naming as well. If we are messing up with the names, obviously things not gonna work at all. Then Figma gonna understand this, like in this frame, there is an element called rectangle 54, but in this frame, we don't have that rectangle. So this opacity will be gone down. And if this, is something rectangle 55, this is not in this frame, its opacity will automatically increase, right? Obviously, it depends upon the kind of transition we have. If you are going to have instant, then obviously you cannot see the opacity from 0 to 100. But if it is smart animate, you will see some animation through it. Okay, let's talk about the rotation, right? Let's make it back to 54. So right now we have a angle of 0 degree, right? Sorry, this is the coordinate radius. Yeah, we have an angle of 0 degree. If let's suppose I make it 90 degree. Okay. Okay, 90 plus 45. Okay, so that we can see some difference, right? I'll quickly switch to the prototyping. Okay, it's already set up, I guess. One quick hack or tip would be, like, if we select these two frames, right, we can see all the types of interaction we have, and we can actually change it simultaneously without changing it again and again. Like if we are not doing this way, then we have to change one connection which is going from hotspot to destination first. Then we will be doing destination to hotspot, right? But right now it says mixed. That means hotspot is coming to this and this is coming to this. So basically we have two options over there of the destination. So yeah, again, we'll have a delay. We'll have a 1 millisecond, delay time, navigation to navigate to basically smart animate. Yeah, everything looks perfect. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, It's looping well. The speed is too high. We can even change that. I obviously want to make the changes in both the animation, going in and going out kind of a thing. So I'll select both. Maybe I'll make it. Okay. So now we can rotate things. With the help of this, we can create this cool animation. Let's see this. So this is kind of having a 360-degree rotation. But how to achieve that 360-degree animation? Let's figure that out. Let's suppose if I have this, there could be people who can say like, we have actually made it somewhere around 135. Why don't we put 360? 360 is actually equivalent to 0. I wrote 360 as I pressed enter, it is 0. Okay, so there could be another argument where we can say like, why not we make it, 359? Let's do that. Okay, so it says -1. So basically what is happening? First, we were having the clockwise, we were having the anti-clockwise animation. Now we have -1. So I really want to know in the chat, right? What do you think? Is this rectangle going to cover the whole anti-clockwise path to achieve this -1, or is just going to go in the shortest direction? It's going to go on the clockwise and achieve -1. Manish, please let me know if we are, people are commenting on chat or not.
Yeah, I think we have many of them saying it's going to go in the shortest direction.
Perfect. So like seeing the response on the chat, it looks like everyone is very much clear with the basic how things work when it comes to the Figma systems, right? Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's going to go in the -1 direction because like we are not telling Figma that where or how we want to move things, right? Figma will always interpolate on its own, and it will go in the direction which will be the shortest direction, right? So how to create that 360-degree, right? In that case, what we are going to do is, I think you guys are smart enough to figure that out. We will obviously create another frame where if this is 0, we'll have this maybe somewhere around. Again, we cannot have this 180 because even if you are having 180, Figma will get confused. Either it's need to go from the anti-clockwise or the clockwise, right? So what we're going to do is we'll have it 175-degree. Okay. And this one, again, it cannot be 360, it cannot be -1. Then we'll have it somewhere around, we can reduce 5 degrees, right? So we can have -5. Okay. Let's connect these. Let's see how it goes. Let's remove all the interaction we earlier had. This one and this. Again, we'll connect this with the first one. Now I will select all. I'll change all the properties in the one go, right? We don't need to actually connect this to this one. Like let's suppose this is the mid frame. We don't need to do that. Like we are connecting this with this, then we are changing the property. Again, we are connecting this with this because the property is going to remain same if we want to have a continuous motion, right? We'll have it after delay. Let's have it. It says mix because all of them are selected. Smart animation. Yeah, it says 800. Let's preview it. Okay, now this is going in the back direction. This should not be the case. I think I messed up with the numbers. It's gonna be 5 itself. Okay, let me check what went wrong. This is 0. Okay. I'm having 180-degree, yeah. I got it 75. Okay, 9. Oh, one big mistake which I have done. This is not going to be smart animate, right? This is going to be the instant. Okay, so now it's happening in this direction. It's moving in the circular fashion. Now you can see there are some, in between things are getting slow, right? We can fix that. We can fix that by having a linear motion to it. And on top of it, yeah. Now if you see, we can see a circular movement, consistent circular movement, right? Though I can still see there is a bit of, a lag where we are switching this from here. So if we, instead of -10, if you make it -5, I think that will also be gone. But that is something. Okay. Oh, I'm really sorry. It is 175. That's why it's not taking -5, right? So 175 -5, the difference is 180 actually, right? So that's why it's not, the Figma cannot understand whether it need to go from the clockwise or the anti-clockwise. I need to have at least -6, I guess. Perfect. Bam. Done. So yeah, this is how you can achieve this, right? Quick hack on this one as well. Like I have created this below, right? I have I have this in the 0 degree, then we have this in the -90 degree, then we have this somewhere around 91, 42 degree. This is just a random number. You can even have it over here, and you can even, this can actually go somewhere here. It's not going to make much difference. Obviously, this is for to have a smooth animation. That's why I had it in this particular, I had used these particular numbers over here. Another thing is I had a just copied it and, had a similar blur at the back. So it kind of looks cool if you see. Yeah, perfect. I hope everything is clear till now and I am making sense. Manish, please let me know like if we have any question for anything till now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome so far. No question.
Perfect, 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 perfect. Moving on, now we are going to achieve this animation. How we can do that? Let's see what kind of animation is this. So we see a circle is moving around with a mouse at the starting of it, and this is scaling up. I think everyone is smart enough to understand how to scale this up. We have this, a size of a cat, right? And the next time we're gonna increase the size of the cat. That's pretty much simple, right? But how to achieve this movement? How to achieve, like we learned about the linear motion, but we didn't learn about the circular motion. We can have the circular motion in the circular, like if you use the circle or if you use the rectangle by using this. But I would say you guys can even achieve this, but how to make this move in circle? How we can do that, right? This is the tricky part. Let's see. If I have this, right, and I want to make it move in this circle, right? And I know that if I'm going to, put this and the second position would be this, then my object will move in this direction, not in the circular motion. So what could be the hack for that, right? We will be figuring that out. Let's create another frame, right? Let's do one thing. Let's create a frame within the frame. And I have this, right? I have nested this rectangle in a frame because I want to achieve that circular motion. Now I get the property to make this or maybe move this in a rotational fashion just by using this, right? So these are the basic things that you need to understand that you cannot achieve circular motion. That's why you need to nest it under some frame. Then only you can get that circular motion. On top of it, Figma is only capable of having a linear motion if you're having it in the just having it within the elements or maybe within the objects, right? So what I'll do, we'll apply the same concept which we applied earlier. We'll have 3 frames over here. Obviously, I'll delete this because this doesn't contain the frame which I have in this one. Again, this frame should be similar to, this naming should be similar to whatever we are going to have it in the next frame. That's why I'm deleting this. I'll make a copy of it. I'll say mid. If I see, yeah, the rectangle 54 is nested within 15118. Okay. Or what I'll do, I won't rotate this. I will rotate this. Okay. I'll rotate it maybe somewhere around this much. Okay. And then we can have another frame which says destination frame. And again, I'll rotate it in this fashion. Okay. Now, if we connect things, make sure to connect the parent frame, not the frame within, which are nested within the mid frame. Mid frame, yeah. Okay, perfect. Again, I'll go after delay. I'll go for 0. Will automatically turn to 1. I'll have smart animate. Let's have it 600. Let's have it linear. Yeah. So why this is actually speeding down? Because we have a smart animate between this and this as well, which should not be the case, because what is happening, the distance it is taking, the distance it needs to cover from here to here is large, and the time which we have given allocated to every frame to go from the initial to the final frame is the same. Either we decrease the time, maybe have it somewhere around 200 milliseconds, or maybe change it to instance. The obviously we need to understand the basic of animation, that if you combine 12 images, right, it's gonna look like animation. That's how animation works. It's a combination of frames, right? So yeah, so we have reduced it to 100. Now we got a smoother animation. We can, I guess we can play around and have a instance also. Yeah, we can have it instant as well. So yeah, we are getting some jerk. We can get rid of that if we move it a bit. Yeah, we can play around with the numbers. We can figure out like what works, what doesn't work, and we can have it. Yeah, we are getting closer, right? So yeah, this is how it's gonna be. So this is how we have created this one. I think we have few more options. I thought that it's gonna take a lot of time for me to actually, introduce or maybe flow through the complete presentation. Let's figure out how we have created this one. Manish, I think we can spend a couple of minutes more, right, in discussing this one. Then we can go ahead with the Q&A.
Yeah, that totally works.
Perfect, perfect. So now, if you see, this has some another complexity in it. Like if we try to see within this loading bar one, right? So we have some groups which is nested within another group, and we have some masking in it, right? First of all, like why do we even need masks, right? We don't need masks to just alter the shape. When I say alter the shape, I'll create in this one, like all the prototyping setting is done. What I'll do, I'll create a rectangle over here, right? I'll have the same rectangle over here. Okay. If you see, this one is the smaller one. This one is the larger one. Again, this one can be the, let's reduce the size. This one can be this one, and yeah, you can have it. So if you see what's happening, obviously the position is not aligned properly. Yeah, position is not aligned properly. That's why we can see the rectangle is moving back as well. But you get my point, right? We can alter properties and we can make small things, right? Or maybe small animation, right? We don't even need these many frames just to have this kind of animation where your bar is filling something. We have the I would say mask in it just to have this effect, this line effect. If I go on to the last one, right, you can see this is basically nested. This is basically masked under this shape. And we, like I said, we can alter the properties of a shape. That's why it is looking that we have masked it and only this much, pattern is visible within another rectangle, which is outside of that particular pattern. And that is, getting expanded to this. And this mask thing is, moving towards the left and it's filling the space, right? So by this, we understand like we can work around with marks as well. Masks will work as your shapes work, right? You can alter the mask, you can, maybe mask few things and show it during the animations and things gonna work around. Any question on this one? This is a bit on the, I would say, a bit complex to set up. But obviously, if you have the clarity on the basics, if you understand how things work, how basic linear motion happens, it's going to be as simple as any other simple animation. So yeah, that would be it from the presentation aspect. I think it's time for Q&A. I think Manish and I we are ready to actually answer any of the questions if you guys have.
Yes, thank you so much, Anshul. That was actually pretty nice. We have one question from Jayesh. I think you already explained about the use of mask, but he was asking, can we use frame and clip content instead of masking?
Sorry, frame clip content? No, we cannot.
No? Okay.
No, we cannot. Like if you see, like, let me just explain you. Like frame is something that is the parent of the whole thing, right? If you are clipping it, it's just a property that is not supported with the prototyping. Mask is something that is, you can play around with the elements within it. Frame, it's still like the father of everything, right? If you have a frame within another frame, you have another frame. And if you mask it, right, the clip content not gonna work. That's why we have masks, right?
Cool. Muskan has another question on giving some insights on working with variables. Do you want to give like some explanation on what variables are in Figma?
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Like, what did Muskan say? Like, let me open the chat.
Yeah, you can open it up.
Okay. Stop sharing files.
It's basically just to give an overview to work around with variables.
Sorry.
Just to give an overview on how to work with variables in Figma.
Okay, got it. So basically, if you understand the variables are nothing but just design tokens, right? Variable let you define things on the top level. You can, let's suppose we have a variable which has a hex code of double F, double F, double F. That is white color, right? If you have that variable and you say color white, right? You can have multiple aliases of that. Like even you can mention that, color white by the name brand color. You can mention that the surface color. You can mention it like the content color. So what is happening, right? You have the color hex code double F, double F, double F. That is your color white. Then it is branched into brand color, surface color, and the content color. Now what's happening? If you change the top color, everything's gonna change, right? If you change any of the leaf colors, right, nothing's gonna affect it. Like let's suppose if you change the brand color, nothing's gonna affect on the surface level or the content level. That is the power of variable. Whereas when you use the styles, obviously you can define styles, right? Style has one-to-one mapping. Let's suppose we have defined color 500, right? Blue 500, right? And we have a blue color. We have used it in the background. We have used it in the content. We have even used it in the brand color. If you change this color 500, right? Sorry, blue 500, everything's gonna change. So this is like the overview of what variable is. And like if you work with variable along with prototyping, it's very complex, I would say, and it's super fun to actually work around. So I would definitely suggest you guys to, can we have a session on variables too? Yeah, we can have. It's actually very complex, but we can have it.
Cool. What about the question by Ayush, who's asking, how do we
How to
export
export?
animation? Yeah.
Perfect. Good question. So recently, Lottie Files has launched its plugin, and you can convert the basic animation into Lottie animation that are basically JSONs, right? You can, like the uh, like the animation which we have created, all of these can be exported using Lottie plugin, except I think gradient feature just came in, I think few days back, not sure. Earlier there you cannot even use gradient in your shape, and if you try to export it through Lottie, it won't show up. So still Lottie files, still the plugins still have a lot of I would say limitation, but trust me, like in the industry, things are moving very fast. Sooner or later, we'll have each and everything in just this particular window, that is Figma. We'll have a lot of plugin. We can export anything however we want it. But as of now, we can only do basic stuff with the Lottie files. No, Nidhi, there are no better option than Lottie file. Obviously, we can export, maybe record the screen and export the videos. Maybe you can use it as a GIF, but still, that is of no use as such. What if we could use custom bezier instead of Lena? Yeah, we can use it. If you try to, let me share my screen on this part as well. Like, let's see this one. I hope my screen is visible. Like we have kind of a linear motion. We can go to the custom bezier, right? So today itself, I was discussing this with my team, and then I realized, yeah, I don't even know like what does this x-axis mean and what does this y-axis mean. Like I had a vague idea, right? So figuring out, we got to know that yeah, this y-axis define your position, x-axis define your time. And I hope we all have gone through our physics classes. Speed is equal to distance upon time, right? So let's suppose we use easy in, right? And then we go to custom Bezier, right? So this is basically easy in graph, where what is happening, your position is not changing in the starting, but time is spending. So basically, we don't have a lot of speed. But as you see, things are pacing up. The position is changing quickly, but the time is changing. The displacement of the time is quite less. That's why when we have easy in, right? It start with slow, but end up fast. When we use easy out, then it start with, fast speed and end with slow, because the position is less displacing in the end, but the time is what's happening is actually going fast. Let's see this. Like if we have this, right? Yeah, we can have this itself. We can even increase it so that we can see the difference. So if you see, it's having a good position displacement at the starting and slowing down at the end, because we have this kind of a straight view. I hope you understand like how X and Y axis work and how the graph works. So yeah, this is all about that.
Okay. Any more questions? Did you make Figmesh purely on Figma? Muskan
Yes.
wants to know. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. So like I was working on Figmeshwari as well, but yeah, it's still in the process. It didn't get through much. Having variables in place, right? We can even have, I hope everyone has seen Taken, Taken play game, right? Where we beat another person and one person can beat you. We can even create that. Obviously, that's too complex and too logical, but yeah, we can do that. There are multiple games out there. I think Flappy Birds already made. The space invaders is already there. I think few more are there. So yeah, game is also possible nowadays in Figma.
Cool. Any more questions, people? I think that was a really insightful session, Anshul. I also took some tips from that session about animations and naming conventions, most importantly. But for those that are new for these workshops, at Open Bootcamp, we actually do these workshops with experts like Anshul. We record them and we upload it online for everyone to view it. Anshul is also conducting these workshops in his community. So do you want to talk about that, Anshul?
Yeah. So I recently started building my community as well, where we discuss about design, where we discuss about animation like this. I'm very fond of this motion graphic. Obviously, like the traditional work in Figma is something everyone can learn everywhere, I guess. There is so much information on YouTube as well. To figuring out these nitty gritty, right? To how you can create a circular motion, or maybe how you can create Figma. We have all of these kind of discussion in the community. I won't say it's a very big community, but we have just started. We have decent number of people. And if you want to obviously get into the community, you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn, or you can even reach out to Manish. He can let you know like where to find me, right? So yeah, we do conduct these small workshops where we discuss about few things, because this also helps us to actually see things from a different angle, right? How we can do things. Yeah, this can be done this way. In design, everything is very subjective and it's an open world. We always need to be open with the criticism and obviously the feedbacks. And obviously at the end of the day, we need to inculcate all of those things within ourselves to get a better, to become a better designer.
A few more questions. Do you want to pick them up?
Yeah. So Prashant said, do you use drawing tablet for illustrations in Figma? No, Prashant, I don't. Like, I'm not good with, sketching, so I cannot, go around that. But I know people who use that. So it's totally a personal choice how you want to, take it. Or maybe like hardware and the softwares, right, are just the tools, right? Obviously, you need to understand every basic detail of that particular thing to give your ideas, to bring your ideas to life, right? But at the end of the day, these are just the tools, right? We can use anything we want. Nidhi has one last question. Do we have to use an upgraded version for Figma to get more option variable? I am not sure about this. I have the uh, obviously I have the paid plan of the organization itself that I use, right? So I enjoy that liberty, but I'm not sure about the variables. I think it's in open beta. It's for everyone. I may be wrong. I'm not sure.
Yeah, in case anyone wants to use the paid version of Figma, you can actually apply for the education plan and
Oh yeah.
choose Open Bootcamp as a school if it's not available, so you get it for free. And yeah, that's about it. One last note, if anyone's keen on learning product design or UX design, you can also join uxuiopen.com. The course is actually free if you search for the word Barbie or Oppenheimer on our website. So if you find those two words, just click on it. The entire course is for free for you all. And yeah, please do reach out to Anshul on his LinkedIn profile as well, and you can connect with him and ask him more questions out there as well.